Thanks for clicking. My name is Mark Mitchell. I'm a mortgage broker here in London, Ontario. Ontario has released a report on its Ontario Affordability Task Force, which outlines 55 recommendations to make housing more affordable in Ontario, with the major goal of building 1.5 million new homes in the next 10 years. With the average price of rent having gone up 5.4% in the last year alone, and the average price of a home in Ontario gone up 44% in the last 2 years, the report is definitely timely. So what I want to do today is go over all 55 recommendations in the report.
You are.
No, not going to go over all 55. Everyone just closes the tab.
Yeah, we're going to head out.
No, what I want to do today is go over some of the main sections contained in the report, which are really split into two different parts. The first one is really just getting tough on municipalities, and the second is figuring out how we're going to pay for it. Then I want to go over some of the problems contained with the report, as it definitely seems a little ambitious, especially during an election year.
Oh, that's got nothing to do with it.
We will have another update out on Wednesday, as Stats Canada is set to release its inflation data for January, which will have a big impact on the Bank of Canada's decision on interest rates coming up on March 1st. Click like and subscribe if you want to get those updates, but for now, let's get into this report. First and foremost, the report calls for the construction of 1.5 million new homes over the next 10 years. This is definitely a tall order, as the most that Ontario has built in a single year came at 75,000, which came in 2020 and was a record year. 75,000 times 10 is 750,000, so if we're going to get to 1.5 million, we need to double our construction of new homes over the next 10 years. Sections 3 through 11 goes through a number of recommendations to create more housing as a right. So what that means is those looking to expand current homes wouldn't have to go to the municipality for approval on a lot of their projects. So projects such as secondary dwelling units, rooming houses, multi-residential dwellings wouldn't have to get special permission from the municipality for these type of projects. It would be as a right. They would have a right to engage in these kind of projects. Right now, these developers do have to go to the municipality, but the province can change that through basically a stroke of a pen. There's a bit more involved in that, but municipalities are creatures of the province, so the province can basically call the shots and the municipalities have to do it.
You'll do what I tell you.
Sections 13 through 25 really gets hard on the municipalities' deliberating process. So it really seeks to eliminate time that happen in normal legislative behavior in municipalities. I'm from London, and we've definitely seen it here, and I'm sure we've seen it. I'm sure people in Toronto, Woodstock, St. Thomas, all through Ontario have seen how long the municipal process can take.
I never, ever want to see that again.
So sections 13 through 25 seeks to shorten these processes down substantially. Among these recommendations are limiting the amount of time that municipalities have to debate. They are also getting tough on heritage designations, including mandating that municipalities compensate property owners for a loss of value as a result of heritage designation. So there will be more of a price to pay if buildings are considered a heritage designation. And the thought is that if they limit how many buildings can be designated as heritage, it will create more room, more available space for development. And then sections 26 through 31 seek to make the appeals process for new development projects much more costly on municipalities and create more incentives for municipalities to kind of push these developments through. So this really deals with the appeals process, and one of the big parts of these appeals is make it so that projects that have 30% affordable housing and can guarantee affordable housing for the next 40 years will not be subject to an appeal process. So we can't have third parties coming in to appeal these new projects, so long as these projects are guaranteed to contain 30% affordable housing. So yeah, the first 31 sections are really about getting tough on the municipalities, removing barriers, making it more difficult for municipalities for third parties to appeal, and really getting tough on the funding on the processes of municipalities in general. The next 24 sections are really about how are we going to pay for it.
And how are you going to pay for it?
So sections 32 through 37 and sections 42 to 44 seek to improve the tax on municipal financing, and one of the most notable recommendations that I found was that they wanted to remove the development tax on projects for affordable housing, which can guarantee that affordable housing for the next 40 years. So this report really does seem to try to attack not only making sure that developments go through, but also making sure that there is a place for affordable housing in Ontario, and really providing quite a bit of incentives for the construction of these affordable housing units. So there's going to they really try to incentivize developers to construct these new units to try to not only build more housing, but the right type of housing for the rest for Ontario. And then sections 38 through 41 discuss creating new pathways for home ownership for certain minorities, for first generation homeowners. So if your parents didn't own a home and you are a first generation homeowner, it's possible that there will be funding for that. And it also suggests that the federal and provincial governments will provide loan guarantees for the construction of affordable housing. So this should make it easier for developers to get funding, to get loans from the banks, as the governments will be guaranteeing these loans so long as they're used for affordable housing. So really, throughout this document there are a number of promises just to get more housing in general, to start with that extra 750,000 homes. But there's also a lot for affordable housing homes in here as well. And then sections 50 through 55 really just go through reporting, which sounds boring, and it is. But it's also very important, as if we don't understand the problem at hand, if we don't understand what's going on, we won't know how to fix it. So yeah, sections 50 through 55 are really about just the municipalities reporting to the provincial government over the implementation of all these recommendations. With all of that said, there are a few issues in this report that I want to briefly discuss. The first one being when they talk about federal and provincial governments guaranteeing loans, or really any agreement with the feds, anything that relies on federal funding. The province can't guarantee this, and the province will have to work very hard to get the federal government on board. We can promise all sorts of things if we think that we're going to be well funded, but getting that funding, that's the real test.
Stop counting other people's money.
And then the second biggest problem with this report is its timing, is that these are all just recommendations, and this is an election year. Premier Doug Ford is set to call the election at some point this year, and I would assume that he will be counting on this document quite a bit when he's making his promises to bring affordable housing to Ontario. That's not to say that he can't do this or that he won't do at least some of the parts of this document, but I would assume that this report is going to be used quite a bit for political purposes. So I wouldn't depend on this coming to fruition, at least not in this year. He's going to want to be able. The politicians do often use these reports as a means of showing that they're doing something. Case in point, the first-time homebuyer initiative, the shared equity project that Prime Minister Trudeau used and was leaned on heavily during the election, and then we haven't heard a whole lot about it now. And it wasn't very popular even when he was leaning on it. So take all these 55 recommendations with a grain of salt, as it's unlikely that they are going to be implemented this year. This isn't going to be an immediate fix for Ontario. It's just really, I think it's like an opening salvo for the Conservative government as they head into election season. But with that said, something is better than nothing, and 55 recommendations, I do think there's a lot of good in here. I think the province has the ability to get the municipalities in line. They have the ability to really get the municipalities to do whatever they want. As we said, municipalities are creatures of the provincial government and have to they dance to the province's tune. So if the provinces are looking to get involved in the municipalities, I think there's some nuance there that they need to understand, as every municipality is different. But still, it's great to see that something is being done, or something is planned on being done, I suppose. But as these 55 recommendations come out more in the media, and as they're talked about more, I'm sure we will see more news about them. And if you want to get that news, obviously we'll have that on this channel. Click like and subscribe to get those updates, and thanks so much for watching.